Welcome everyone to the Mind, Body, and Soul television show coming to you live from our Denver Internet TV studios. Also streaming on YouTube Live and on Google Hangouts and on ConsciousEvolutionMedia.com. I'm your host and moderator, Coach Steve Toth, and I also founded Conscious Evolution Media. We have a very, very intriguing and interesting guest, as always, this afternoon. Her name is Marcy Newman, and she's joining us somewhere from Arizona. Welcome to the show, Marcy.
Thank you so much, Steve. I'm thrilled to be here.
And I'm just going to give a really short introduction. Marcy is a heart shift coach, and she's also an author and a healer, and I'm sure many other things which we're going to find out on the show. But most importantly, and this is how we always start our show, if I take away all those titles that I just mentioned and all the others that anyone has ever called you, Marcy, and those would be, you know, maybe a wife, a friend, a colleague, and the list goes on. If I take them all away, what's left? Who is really Marcy Newman?
I'm a spirit in search of being in alignment with my heart and soul and delivering what I came here to deliver. And putting all that other and all those other parts of me aside, because they are significant. They're ways that I express myself. I really am here as the essence of love, as I think each and every one of us is. And I think that our purpose, our shared purpose, is always to be an expression of that love in one way or another. And it's a constant challenge and task to stay in that vibration. But we're all here to support each other and to lean on each other. And I think that that's a lot of what it's all about, learning that we're really one and what that really means and what it requires of us to live that.
Yeah, that's it's a fantastic answer, Marcy, and that's really how our guests pass the mustard or not. That's the very first question I ask, and I know immediately who I'm talking to. That's how easy this is. So what's interesting is you talk about love, and that's what our network is all about, is really to teach people how to be in their energy of love and how to be in the present moment, which is where love exists. And interestingly, the world is full of hate. So your work and my work, and a lot of people that kind of walk the same path we do, we still have a lot of work to do, don't we?
We do. And you know, it's that work is of course in the world, but that work mostly is within ourselves. And that's the aspect of my teaching that I really try to share at any moment. And that's always bringing it back to ourselves, which is, as you said, it's really where we have the power. Love is that power. And when we're present in it, we are empowered through it. So coming back home to our own hearts is where it's at.
Yeah, absolutely. And I also sometimes say, not sometimes, a lot of times, is that when we are in our energy of love, then we're connected. We're connected to what? We are connected to who we really are. And
Right.
when we're disconnected, when we're not in our love energy, oh my God, anything and everything will happen.
That's true. And you know, you spoke about hate. And it does, I think, appear to us so often that there is so much hate. But what I found also in my 40-plus years of experience is that underneath that hate is always fear. And it's the fear that needs to be addressed. And
underneath that, there is love.
Absolutely. And that's why it needs to be addressed. So many people try to just sweep that under the table or distract themselves. But the truth is, whenever fear is present, as you said, it's doing nothing but masking the love that's just waiting there for them to discover. And as we go through life and become more conscious and more aware of how we are and what we're connected to, as you said, in any given moment, we begin to recognize more and more what's in control. Is it that fear, or is it that we are open enough to just allow that love to come through? And then everything falls into place, which is absolutely amazing.
That is amazing. It's magical.
It is.
And I know that you know, because I'm connected to you, and I know that you walk your talk and you live it, and I know too. But for the majority of my life, I really didn't. And so I can relate to people that are still, just on their training bicycle and trying to figure this thing out. And a lot of people are wishing that there was like this magic wand that you have or I have that we can use to make it all better. And I actually don't have it, but every one of us do have it inside of us. How do you feel about that?
Well, you're right on. I mean, it is a magic wand.
I have one, but it's for me.
It's for you. And what I was just going to say is that magic wand is finding out what makes our heart sing. Once we explore that and we discover exactly what that is, and we have the courage, the strength, and the tenacity to follow only what makes our heart sing, that is the magic wand. That is when we are in vibrational alignment with the consciousness of love that only wants to express itself not only for us but through us. And so it just perpetuates that whole vibration of our heart singing. And it's what you have so beautifully demonstrated. You sit in that booth day after day after day doing exactly what makes your heart sing. I know that there were probably lots of things in your life that you needed to let go in order to be there. You needed to let go of certain beliefs, maybe certain conditions that other people had put on you, or standards that other people put on you. And as each and every one of us finds that magic note, what happens is the universe can do nothing but lay itself at our feet. And it's what is really that connection that you spoke of, and as I said, you demonstrate so well.
Yeah, right on. And I let go even every day today. It's not like I'm done.
No.
Because this stuff keeps coming on, and as you said, there's pressures from other people, from people I work with, people I'm in business partnerships with, and there's all that stuff constantly, coming at me, and I have to, remind myself, people expect, when I was only doing this 3 years in, and now we're past 10 years.
Congratulations.
Thank you. When I was doing it 3 years in, my partners back then, were wondering how come we're not millionaires yet. And
Sure.
And I'm, and my answer is I'm not doing it to be a millionaire. And if I do get to be a millionaire, fantastic, because the more money we'll have, the more people we can help.
Sure.
And more we can shift the consciousness on the planet. But that's not the ultimate reason that I'm here every day and live the life that I live. And I have my own ups and downs. I'm sure you do too. And a lot of times, people I work with, they don't want me to talk about that stuff. They'd rather have me hide. It's kind of interesting. People would rather have us hide the reality of life. And you talk about it on your website, because you talk about it in a way that, like, changing our thoughts doesn't really work. Like I know a lot of people that are positive thinkers, and they don't want to have any negative conversations, because they think that That's not right.
Right.
Only positive conversations are allowed, and and we have to pretend, my God, that everything is fine and hunky-dory. And sometimes, for me, I'm speaking for myself, Marcy, everything is not hunky-dory.
Right. You know, and it's the same for every single one of us. And the thing is that I think that, first of all, we need to embrace the fact that every conversation is positive. It may not be a resolution in that moment, but it's positive because what we're doing is acknowledging those parts of us that are sort of raising their hands and saying, pick me, I'm ready to be let go of. And we do that so beautifully through conversation. It's why coaches and counselors and mentors are so important in our lives, because through the support and through that conversation and through suggestions and real guidelines as to how to get from where we are to where we want to be, we can actually move through what has been keeping us stuck. And that's ultimately what we want. So again, I know, and I can only speak for myself, but I was a master for a very long time at sweeping things under the rug. I thought, well, if I don't look at it, I don't talk about it,
it must not exist.
It doesn't exist. So I would constantly be looking in other directions, and it finally came to the point where I was getting whiplash because I had to look in so many different directions to hide from what was so necessary for me to look at. And when I finally did, and I talked earlier about the courage and the strength and the tenacity that's necessary to do that, when I stepped up to the plate for myself with those energies and supporting myself, then I was able to let go of those things, and miraculously they no longer had power over me. So what happened was that it released all of that energy that had been held captive, and I suddenly had it and was able to utilize it to create what I did want to experience. And that is nothing short of miraculous. We're energy beings. And I think we forget that sometimes, and we go through life being very reactive, when in fact, because we are energy beings, we can be proactive in creating what it is that we want, because energy knows no bounds. It just goes through walls. It goes from one place on the earth, one place in the universe to another, and we can get it to work for us in a way that's beneficial not just for us, but of course for all of us, because we're all in this together.
Yeah, fantastic. And would you also say, Marcy, that without awareness, this conversation that you and I are having doesn't really get received. I mean, we're broadcasting this message,
Right.
and you know, I believe that the message is being received, but for a lot of people, it's being received subconsciously, and they're not really aware of it. Because where they are on their journey at the moment, and you know, I have tons of examples, but one is we took a family of 4 about a year ago. They were only going to be here because they were homeless temporarily. They were only going to be here for like 2 months. Well, I'm sure you heard the story. Every time that happens, it's never 2 months. It's usually a year, 2 or 3. So this Monday, they finally moved to Texas, and you know, my life gets to be quite interesting and challenging because this is the work that I've been doing for the last 10 years, and you know, these people that we took in, they're not really awake or conscious. So it's an interesting contrast, you know, to live with people and for you to see on a daily basis that what it's actually has been good for me, because I'm concerned sometimes that since I don't want to be living in a bubble. Does that make sense?
Of course.
Like I don't want to live in my own bubble that I get to create here. I want some contrast to see what's happening in the world and what's happening in other people's reality. Not that I want to change them. I just want to know, and I just want to get sometimes how difficult it is to receive this message that I'm giving, because I've talked to them many times, and of course I understand the fact that when we're not awake and not conscious, we are also not open. And that's what I wanted to kind of have a little dialogue with you, because openness, you know, I feel that we so hang on to like we know how things are. I mean, we hang on with our 10 fingers and nails that we know how life is, and we know the answer for everything that's happening to us. And the honest truth is, for me, we don't know.
No, because it's always changing, Steve. And it's always changing because our vibrational frequency shifts with every life experience. And it shifts because of the choices that we make. The choice whether or not to be open to this new thought or a new belief or a new way of doing things, or to be closed and to really, as you said, hang on, cling as strongly as possible to try to stay exactly where we are. But I think one of the things that's so important is for us to remember that at any given moment, we're totally in purpose, whether that is a conscious thing or an unconscious thing. So you've had 3 years of incredible opportunity to not only be the teacher, but to be the student, to learn from these people. And you learned many things. Again, it can be a conscious learning, or it can be something that is so subtle and such a soft absorbing. But we find ourselves shifting nonetheless. One thing that I'm sure you learned and taught was compassion. Because every time that you had this teaching situation and you could see in their eyes that they weren't getting it, that they weren't ready to receive it, the one thing that you needed to give to yourself in that moment was compassion. Because in that compassion, what happened was there is a softening of your heart and an acceptance of where other people are. And then the extension of that compassion for those people. And we then, and only then, can begin to accept each other for where we are, but also have an appreciation for it. There's this image that I get very often when I encounter people who are very closed or very dogmatic or very fearful. And in that moment, I take the opportunity to sort of close my eyes, and I thank them. I thank them because somewhere, sometime, they agreed to be there. And they agreed to be there to be a launch pad for me, for others, and sometimes we're actually standing on their backs and shouting, "Get me out of here!" And other times, it is this unseen catalyst for us that says, you know, that doesn't ring true for me, but I can still love you. I can still accept where you are, knowing that, first of all, at some other time I was there too, because we are a constant evolutionary process. And as I said, they're actually providing a service for us and our growth. And all I can do is to say that as I reach higher, I'm willing and able to be that catalyst for you too. And I recognize the partnership, and all of a sudden that tension is gone. Sometimes it takes a little while for me to get there.
Yeah, me too. And then the constant reminder that that also not to get into judgment.
Right.
Like I really watch myself and monitor myself is not to judge them for who they are or who they appear to be for me, because the the relating that I'm doing in my mind is obviously from my background. What else? What else do I have?
Yeah.
My history, and that's just only my history.
That's
That
right.
that has nothing to do with what they went through in their lives. And we seem to think that we can relate to people like we really know. What's going on inside of them. I have a hard time just to just to settle, and what's the word I'm looking for? What like people that are in the financial business, they have to do what with books? They have to balance the books, right?
Balance.
As I'm balancing my own act
Of course.
every day, every moment, that's enough for me. I don't have the energy nor the time to figure out where other people are. I can't even do it. It's
That's
impossible.
But the only thing that we can do is to shift our own heart.
Yes.
And the reason that we do this, and by the way, as I was referring to just a moment ago, to actually come to a place of gratitude for people who are creating that, that place for us to leap off from or to reach higher from, to be a catalyst for us, to be grateful for that.
Or to be reminded.
Or to be reminded is the most incredible heart shift, which will then shift our perception. It will shift our thoughts. It will shift our choices. It will shift our actions, and it will shift our reality. And that's how it happens.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And so I also want to talk about hope, because I I can't wait to hear your version, because I know that you somewhat believe that hope is what keeps people doing what they're doing and what they have been doing, and it's the good old thing is people either live from the past or from the future, but they never want to touch the present.
Yeah.
Why?
It's because that hope hook has got them deep. And I was there myself for a long time. I kept hoping that things were going to change. I kept hoping that things would get better. I kept hoping that I would come to a different place in myself, things on the outside, things on the inside, whatever. And that hope hook does very often keep us stuck and keep us in places that are not for our highest good. And so hope for me is a starting point of, again, creating this heart shift so that rather than utilizing hope, we again become more structured in being proactive in creating what it is that we want. If we are only hoping, it may eventually happen, but if you're anything like me, I don't want to wait 10 years. I want it to happen now. I want my reality to be that which I have created. Because hope, in a lot of ways, is disempowering. It's putting our power in the hands of others or another situation. And so we're giving that up. But when we can move from hope into knowingness, and knowing that we are actively engaged in partnership with that creative life force, then hope is, of course, part of what we can lean on, but we lean on only for the moment to help us to get our direction, our guidance. And the other part of that is that I've also come to this point where I'm in recognition, truly, of the perfection of all things, but also my power to be partnered in the creation of that and how I want to experience. So in other words, my perspective is that eventually all roads lead to Rome. Okay? They're all leading to the same place. We are all on this evolutionary process to know ourselves once again as pure love. That is who we are, what we are. How we choose to explore that, demonstrate that, express that, and recognize that is up to us. So it's a matter of either being reactive to life or proactive to life. And that hope hook is something we all need to put in the closet because we need to really become, as you said before, aware and consciously directed. And then, like I said, hope has a different part in our lives.
Yeah, and really, you said it early in the show. The screen that people can use is really what makes their heart sing. That is the only thing I know, and I'm sure there are other things, but I don't know them. But so far, I've been on this planet for 60 years, and the only thing I know that makes me get up in the morning and want to continue, and to be creative and to move forward is do what makes my heart sing.
That's right.
Anything else bores me. Mm-hmm. It's painful, and I don't, I am not interested in pain anymore. I'm interested in love, and I'm interested in feeling good and feeling well, which really brings me to another thing that I think you're very passionate about, and that is connecting health and happiness.
Yes.
I had an opportunity 2 years ago to really get into this. I was hired with one of our clients to start a television show in this area of health, and it's called the New Health Conversation. And I've taken that gentleman. His name is Peter Greenlaw. And he's been studying this subject matter for 10 years, just like I've been doing broadcasting. It was kind of interesting. We came together, and he's now. I've taken him within 6 months from internet radio to internet TV to cable TV, and now he's on PBS. And it's been an amazing journey, but sometimes we don't know why somebody's coming into our lives. He didn't just come into my life because I wanted to create this or produce this show. He also came into my life because I didn't know that at the time when I was talking to him, I had diabetes. I had no idea.
Mm-hmm.
I accidentally found out because my daughter was pregnant, and when she's pregnant, I don't know what do you call this, but when she's pregnant, she's been pregnant twice. I have 2 grandkids, but she has to watch, and she kind of becomes very low-level diabetes. But
pre-eclampsia.
Yeah, you probably know what I'm talking about. So she had the stuff with her, and she says, "Why don't we check your sugar?" And I said, "Okay, go ahead." And she checked my sugar, and it was 460.
Wow.
And she says something is gonna be wrong. I may have to change the batteries, or because at 500 you could die.
Sure.
And so I said, "Oh, let's just do it again." And she did it again, same thing. So I went to emergency, and that's how I found out that I had diabetes too. I was diagnosed 2 years ago, and I'm still working on, getting out of it. But because I don't really believe in pills and what's going on in our country. I believe in more natural ways of dealing with it. So I completely changed my diet. I started to exercise. I lost weight. I used to weigh 245. Today I'm 205, and I need to be maybe 20 pounds lighter, and I'll get there. but I know how much, and what came very clear to me is health is so important in our lives, and I'm not sure what's happening in our country right now, and I don't know if this is happening worldwide, but I'm just focusing on the country. But there is now a store that you can go at every corner to buy drugs.
Yes.
In this country,
Mm-hmm.
and it's almost like nobody is noticing. Like this is kind of happened throughout time that nobody has noticed that this is a reality now. Just like what happened with fast food,
Mm-hmm.
you know, 30, 40 years ago it started and it was a new thing and nobody paid any attention. Next thing you know, there is one now there is 4 at least at every corner. So it kind of sneaked up, and and I'm going like, there's something not right with this picture,
Right.
because now we figured out that we can live longer, but because science is so good, but the quality of life is going the other direction. We're living until 80, 90, 100, but the quality of our lives is
Right.
going the other direction. So why would I want to live to 100? You know, if I have to take 20 pills, who cares?
Yeah. Well, I'm with you on that. There was a time in my life, it was actually very pivotal, and it was an enormous time of letting go. In fact, I needed to let go of almost everything that had defined me for about 30 years. It's a lot of letting go. And what happened, though, during that time was I became very focused on what it was that I wanted to create, what it was that I wanted to experience instead. And I realized, as you said earlier, and I said, I didn't have all the answers, but I knew that my spirit did. So the first thing that I did is I started to really reconnect with my spirit so that I could dialogue with my spirit. And it started this whole process within me where all of my decisions and choices came down to one question: does this serve my spirit? So what happened was, as I really, it was like having tunnel vision. And
I went through the same thing, by the way. This is so interesting that I'm having these conversations, these dialogues with people like yourself on the network, and what we're finding out is that the science of it is that we're all going through the same process.
Yes. And it's the only way that we can do it, because we have to close out the distractions in order to reconnect with our spirit. Our spirit often gets lost in the tumult of our everyday life. And so that became my focus. And here's what happened, Steve. Previous to that, I had arthritis in my hips that was so bad I wouldn't be able to get up out of my chair after going out for dinner. I had constant digestive problems, constant headaches. I never left my house without Tums or Advil. And I also had panic attacks that would wake me in the middle of the night. Well, what happened as I was in this process of really engaging in my spirit, all of a sudden I realized that all of those symptoms had disappeared. And I sat down one day just to write about it. I was so taken by this incredible shift that had occurred in my life. I realized that I felt like I was 20 years younger, and that I could do anything, absolutely anything that I wanted and that I put my mind to. So I started to write, and as I was writing and trying to dissect what I had done, and by the way, my background is in medicine, so I was looking at it from a very scientific place.
You were a nurse, right?
I was a nurse, exactly. But I had this greater understanding that, in truth, it was my spirit that had created these shifts. Well, I realized what had really happened was that by these different choices, by my allowing myself to let go of all those things that were inauthentic in my life, that were controlling me, that had power over me and were smothering me, as I let them go, I began actually to love myself in a way that I had never loved myself before. And my whole focus then became, how can I continue to let go so that I am living my most authentic self? And it required self-love consciousness every single day. Well, in that same sitting, I started to write out this program, and it's a self-help, health and wellness program, and it's based on self-love. It's called Self-Love, but it's spelled C-E-L-L, small p, capital H. And what it's based on is actually a pH scale that I've created for thoughts and emotions. And I started to teach people how to create their own happiness and subsequently their health by utilizing this formulation. Because I recognize that every thought and emotion actually has a pH value. It's either acidic or alkaline. And that as I begin to formulate based on each person's own personal history and what their issues were that needed resolution, that it could be done, yes, with diet and exercise, but more importantly, it was by shifting their heart so that their thoughts followed. Once their thoughts followed the shift in their heart, everything fell into place, and they were back in power. And miraculously, so many of them had really chronic issues that disappeared just like mine did. And so it became the whole focus of everything that I did with my clients. And it was teaching them how to come back into themselves, reconnect with their spirits, putting their spirits in charge, and watching as the body and the mind followed, and everything that they truly wanted to experience in their life, like being happy and healthy and whole, was theirs. Mm. Amazing.
Well, that is amazing, and it's very interesting. I don't know much of what comes first, the chicken or the egg. However, I do know that most human beings on this planet are not having the nutrition that their bodies need. Mm-hmm. And I know that most human beings on this planet are contaminated by the food that they're eating, the air that they're breathing, the water that they're drinking, and the pop that they're drinking, and I could go on and on and on forever. And since we are chemical beings, I don't know, I don't have the answer, but I'm working on it, and maybe I'll never have the answer. But I think the two things are connected. What you're talking about, the self-love and the shifting our mindset and acceptance of ourselves and the loving ourselves is connected to, because, I'm not even going to say because, it's connected to who we are, like really. And if we are love, then we can only do the things that are the best and highest interest of our higher self. You said it. You said it. That's the only way it's possible. And that is why I will never be going into a movie theater and gun people down, because I can't do it. Mm-hmm. Because when I do things and when I say things before I do them and say them, I ask the question of my higher self, is this the best and highest interest of what am I like to do? And that's not a conversation I'm having with my ego. I'm having that conversation with my higher self that wants the best for me. There's no doubt in my mind that that's so.
Yes. Now, I'd just like to add something to that, because this is really, really important. Each and every one of us falls off the wagon from time to time, okay? We'll eat something, we'll do something, we'll read something, we'll watch a movie that is not necessarily in our highest good. But keeping in mind that all experiences are positive. in one way or another, even if it's to bring us back in line, okay, we begin then by, rather than allowing ourselves to fall into the fear and the beating up of ourselves because we've fallen off the wagon, instead we are compassionate to ourselves. It softens that energy, and it also softens the effect of whatever it was that we did that we wish that we hadn't. So because everything is energetically based, that energy can be shifted and its effect on us by shifting how we receive it. So what we know is that the minute that we start to push something away and it creates that energy of repulsion, that's what comes back to us. So as we're more conscious about how we receive things, even if it isn't for our highest good, and I'm talking specifically because there are people who are living in very polluted areas, who have very limited access to fresh foods and so forth. There has to be a way for them to deal with this so that it does not have such a detrimental effect on their beings. And the way that they can do that is to shift their heart into receiving it and changing energetically its composition. And I know that this sounds far-fetched, but it's the only way, because if you are dependent on ingesting that, you need to get from it whatever you can. So to be repulsed by it, you will not get any of its nutrient benefits, you will not get any of the oxygen that you need in the air, and you will succumb to all of the toxins and the debris from those experiences. But if instead you can soften who you are and accept it just for now, and that's really important, just for now, and allow what is present within it to nourish and nurture, you will receive it.
Amazing point, Marcy. Very amazing point. And again, I just want to reiterate what you're talking about. What you're talking about right now, I believe it's at a level of evolution that a lot of people on the planet don't have access to yet. Not that they couldn't.
Yes. And there's only one way that it can come to you, and that is being compassionate to ourselves at all times, understanding that we're here having this experience as spirits, that there's no right, there's no wrong. The only important thing is to be in our spirit. We are our spirit. It's not separate from us. So when we allow it to be in the forefront, it's going to give us the guidance that we need. We can always choose whether to listen, not to listen, do, not to do, but it never judges us because it's all love. And love is without judgment, without conditions, and without expectations. And so it's reminding us that we need to love ourselves in exactly the same way, and we are then in alignment, and there is no pulling us apart.
Yeah, and I, of course, certainly agree, and I'm not a religious person. I checked all that out, and it just didn't work for me. And what I'm reminded of right now, what's coming through, is Jesus. I mean, how you're speaking and what you're speaking is what Jesus would say, and he was actually trying to teach that to us.
Yeah.
And what did we do to him?
But you know what? I mean, we can look at that, or we can say, oh my Lord, what truth there is here. Look at how many years it has taken for us to evolve to this place of now understanding those words, of being able to integrate them into our lives. And the truth is, and again we have to look at the positive parts of every experience, what happened, what we did as a collective, there was a lot of good that came out of that. Of course, it would be really nice if it never had to happen in the first place, and we were all at this conscious level where we could have just accepted this new belief system, these teachings about love, but the collective at that time wasn't ready to accept it. But what has happened is that there's been this tremendous catalyst for our own evolutionary process, and those of us who are getting a glimpse of what that is really all about and what his teachings were, as are the teachings of, you know, so many prophets and so many enlightened beings.
Yeah, the message is the same.
It's the same. Really. Love is all there is. Boom. Love is all there is.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't know where that's coming from. I'm hearing something in my ear. Do you hear something?
No.
No, okay. Must be just me. Okay, I'll ignore it. All right, so so you talked about letting go a number of times.
Yes.
Those are words, and I am coming to a point in my life where I'm finding that words are limiting my experience. They're not limiting my experiences. They are limiting my ability to describe my experiences. And I'm wondering, I wanted to check this out with you, if you're having anything similar going on with you.
Well, I think it's always a challenge, because sometimes it's almost as if what we understand and what we are experiencing cannot easily be articulated because we're experiencing it on an energetic level. And then we're trying to sort of put it into a box so that we can communicate it. And I think the beauty is that there are words that do enable us to communicate what is being emitted from our hearts. And the rest, we trust, is being received energetically. And that I know is true, because there have been so many times where I didn't have the opportunity, or perhaps even didn't have the words to express what I wanted to, and yet I saw the results of that energetic shift. So I know that it was received. Even though it may not have come from my words, it definitely came from the energy of love that I was emitting and that I was giving, and giving it without judgment or conditions. But I saw the effects of it. So there are, you know, frustrations, of course, but the other hand is that, again, those are the times that we need to come back to our truth, where we recognize we're energetic beings. I don't have to say something. There's so much that I'm saying to you right this second. There's so much that I'm saying to our audience right this second that's not being articulated with my words. It's coming directly from my heart, and it is pure love. And how that is received is not up to me. My job is to make certain that I can be as pure of a channel of that love as possible. And then the rest is up to how it's received and then how it's utilized. It's not my responsibility after that.
Fantastic. So let's take those two words, letting go, because a lot of people, I just want to use this as an example for the viewers. So a lot of people, you know, if we talk to 10 people and ask them what does letting go mean to you, we would get 10 different versions of it. And this is what I'm talking about when I'm talking about communication, and that's really the business we're in. You know, people are receiving the communication that you're giving, comes from your heart or not, same with me, but then they will be hearing it through a filter, and the
Mhm.
filter is something that they're putting on.
That's right. So, yeah, I mean, and that's something that I've just learned to accept.
Uh-huh. Me
Um,
too. Me
yeah,
too, because I kept resisting it, and it didn't matter how much I resisted,
right.
it wouldn't make any difference. So what I'm finding myself doing a lot is I keep repeating myself until I'm being heard.
And, and what I do is I let go. I,
Uh,
I let go of um, my need to see immediate results. I know that everything that I say and do is planting seeds somewhere. Sometimes, Steve, I don't even know where they're landing. Sometimes I have no idea what their purpose is. But as long as I stay in my conscious awareness of being in that flow of creative life force and being that vehicle for love, then I can let go of my expectations. That took quite a bit for me to learn, but the moment I did, I experienced this sense of freedom and joy that I had never experienced before. And it allowed me instead to just, rather than being focused on needing that result, it allowed me actually to open more and to just allow it to flow through. And I think again, in that whole letting go process, the number one thing is that you need to know what it is that you're letting go of. If you're just saying, I've got to let go of this, I've got to let go of this.
well, can I give you just my version of it?
Sure.
What made my life really easy is that I stopped resisting why things are the way they are.
Mm-hmm.
And that shows up in a million places every day. It's like I remember when I didn't like this, I didn't like that, I didn't like the way somebody said something, I didn't like the way somebody looked. Well, the truth is, it is the way it is.
You know,
And I just accepted it.
you're so right. And to people listening to this, they may think they're crazy.
He's crazy. She's crazy. He's crazy. They should get married.
It's crazy. And even what we're saying may sound contradictory.
Uh,
The truth is this: there is surrender that is necessary even in creation. So, as I spoke earlier about being proactive and what it is that you really want to experience, yes, there's part of us that has to accept what is. And rather than trying to change that, what is, Steve, there's only one way. It's to change us. It's to change us. And then what happens is everything around us changes because our perspective changes, our thoughts change, our choices change, our actions change, and our reality changes. And that's what happens. But you're right. You have to give up the resistance. You have to surrender and still be in action.
yes, I want to give a practical example to the viewers what happened between us yesterday,
Yes.
and without getting technical because we're gonna lose people. So let's not get technical. But just the thing that happened between you and I, your microphone wasn't working,
Mm-hmm.
and I can tell you that 10 years ago when I started this, I didn't have the patience I have today. I learned to be patient, and because it takes people for whatever it takes for whatever they need to do. So with you, your mic wasn't working, and we tried a few things, nothing seemed to be working, and you wanted to really get off the phone and do whatever you had to do, and I had to let go. I'm just giving this example to people because it's a practical example. I had to let go of the fact that I needed to fix this. No, I didn't need to fix it because I already tried what I knew, and I needed to just hand it over to you, and you handled it.
Fix it.
And I needed to.
Yeah.
I had other things going on. I had to do other things. So, but this is kind of interesting because it was a dance between you and I. And I said, okay, so I have to leave, and then when I come back, I'll get back with you, and we'll test it. And everything worked out beautifully, just the way it's supposed to.
Yep.
But I can guarantee you that we could put two other people in the places of us that maybe hasn't had the training or not as conscious as, and I'm not doing this that, oh yeah, we're really conscious. We're just wherever we are at our level. You know, you're at your level, I'm at my level, but we at a level that we can actually do this.
Yeah.
And I guarantee you that we could put different people, different players in the place of what happened yesterday, and they would be would not be talking to each other ever again.
Right. Absolutely. But it took the awareness that the energy of resistance that was being created through that frustration was going to do nothing but wreak further havoc. Right? Am I right? It's so true.
Yes. It has had the notion that there is a downward spiral beginning.
Yeah. And so, I just have to make a note that on my side, your screen has frozen.
Oh, it's all right.
So it's just so interesting.
It happens.
Yeah, it's so interesting, but it requires that awareness. Like, okay, we can continue on, and we can feed. It's what I call the difference between feeding the pain or feeding the gain. If we had stayed on, it would have fed the pain. We would have continued to create more and more of that painful frustration and resistance, and who knows what would have come through. And
who said this? Who said this? That I don't know who to give credit. Who said this? I think it may have been Einstein. That you can't fix a problem that was created by, how does it go?
It is in order to have a different
created it.
Result, in order to have a different result, you have to do something different. So, and otherwise, I think it's also the definition of insanity, to keep doing the same thing over and over and expect a different result. And so, yes, and that was such a perfect example.
Oh, I think the way it goes is you can't fix a problem by using the same concept that created the problem.
Yes, yes. That's right.
And actually, a lot of times when we fixing problems, we're creating new ones. Did you know that?
Sure. Yeah.
That's why IT people have absolute security in their jobs.
Yes.
Because they fix one, and there is another one right there. Like, they created at least 3 other ones.
Absolutely. Yep. They will never be without jobs as long as there are computers. It's so true.
So I'd like to give you the opportunity, Marcy, to just mention your website or any other contact information or anything that's going on in your business or with you right now that you would like the viewers to know.
Well, first of all, my website is marcyneumann.com, and that's MarcyNeumann. And I invite everyone to go to that website. It's filled with so much information that's absolutely free. And I want the people listening to know that my purpose is to always be of service, to support them in any way that I can. And so I'm open to questions that come through the website. I'm open to topics that people are interested in hearing me speak about. And part of what I do is to create programs that address issues in people's lives. For instance, the letting go to let in. The new one that actually is being launched next week is Heart Shifting for a Bigger, Better, Bolder Life. I have programs on forgiveness. I have information on my self-love, health, and wellness program. I also have a breast health program that I think is essential for every woman to begin and become proactive in creating their own breast health. I believe, as I said earlier, that we are energetic beings. And so energetically, when we need to create a shift in how we are experiencing this life, the answers are within us. And sometimes it requires that we let go of that outside noise, everybody else's opinions, and come back into ourselves. And that is how I work with my clients. It's always to bring them back into their own hearts so that they can discover who they really are and start to live life through their eyes only, not through the eyes of those around them who, frankly, are very self-serving. People want us to be a certain way for them so that they're more comfortable, so that they can get from us what they need. And to remember that we're here always in purpose. And the more that we can be consciously aware of that every interaction that we have is purposeful and gives us opportunity to emit that love and to receive that love. And so our job then is to prepare ourselves to do that. There are so many people that have come across my my practice who cannot receive love. And from my perspective, this is really where the work needs to be done. We need to be able to clear our hearts to receive love, to remember love, to know love once again. We've all lived many moments of our lives thinking that we can prevent ourselves from being hurt by putting up these walls. But the truth is, the moment we do that, we also prevent our love from going out and creating space for us within to be able to receive love. And love takes trust. We have to trust in this universal love that all it wants to do is love through us. And so it requires that we fearlessly let go of the things that are preventing us from experiencing love the way that we are meant to. We're meant to live these lives, happy, healthy, and whole, to be abundant and prosperous, but to be a full expression of love. And I believe that love asks only one thing of us, and that's to allow it to love through us. So that preparation is to explore what's preventing us from doing just that, and then to take the steps, because it's not enough to know. We must follow through with the steps, the actions that it will take for us to release those bonds that we have put on love. It just wants its way with us.
Well, thank you, Marcy. That was a little bit long-winded. I was thinking about interrupting you, but I said, well, she's really in it, and your passion really came through. So, this is what happens on our shows, on our network, is that a 1-hour show becomes a conscious 1 hour, in which time and space disappears.
Right.
And so I want to thank you very much, Marcy. You've been very, very easy to be with and easy to have a dialogue with. And I want to make sure that if the viewers heard anything that you said or did, or I said and did, if they were touched, moved, and inspired by any of it, keep coming back to this show, the Mind, Body, and Soul TV, and also all of the other shows that we do on our network, and come to consciousrevolutionmedia.com. Go ahead and engage with us. There's a lot of places to engage with us on our website. And keep coming back and keep referring people. Also, if this show, when this show is published on YouTube, which will be shortly, the more people will watch this show and any of the other shows that we're producing, makes it to the top 10 every month, then that means it has the potential to go to PBS, which has the potential to be watched by 100 million eyeballs, which I think is what's required in today's reality, to have these messages get as wide and far as they can get. So Marcy, thank you. I love you. I love your message. I love everything that you do. We are, in a way, cut from the same cloth. Was that religious?
No, I don't think so. I think it was acceptance.
Okay. It's like I'm watching and experiencing my sister, because a lot of the things that you said is something that I learned throughout my journey so far. So it made it very easy. It's like we grew up in the same family, kind of.
Thank you.
Which is, again, we're all connected, we're all one, and keep coming back, keep watching, keep listening, keep experiencing, keep engaging until next week, same time, same place on Conscious Evolution Media Network. We'll see you. Thank you all. I love you, and have a fantastic weekend.
Thank you, Steve.
Thanks, Marcy.